I'm a little intimidated of this side of the auditorium. Good evening, guys. How are you all doing today? Whoa, no. I just heard a really loud scream from this side of the crowd. How are you all doing today? You had me nervous. All right. My name is Chris Tarantino. I'm a fourth-year marketing major, currently working for the Information Security Office here at RIT. And at the risk of being crucified by my boss, who's sitting right over there, I'm taking a picture of you all. Can I get the house lights up? Is that the best pose you guys got? Come on, give me a pose. There we go. Perfect. I can see him grimacing over there. So this is the Digital Self-Defense Workshop. We're going to keep it nice and relaxed. Well, I'm going to be relaxed. These guys will be subjected to the worst kind of torture known to man, called a lightning talk. And the next 6 minutes of all of their presentations will change your life. To my left, I have a panel of experts. My boss, Ben Woelk. He's a policy and awareness analyst in the RIT Information Security Office. His boss, John Maurer, the RIT Information Security Officer, and Hannah Morgan, over there on the left, job search, career, and social media strategist at careersherpa.com. Also on our panel, we have Don Soufleris, the Assistant VP, RIT Student Affairs, and Nick Francesco, Manager of Technical Services at the College of Business. The best college. I'm not biased at all. So today we're going to have a nice relaxed format called Lightning Talk. The talks are short presentations lasting 6 minutes long because we know that you have dinner after this, let's be real, and you want to get out of here. So we're going to be right and to the point, and the talks will progress every 18 seconds. This is what 18 seconds look like. It's very fast. And even though right now it doesn't seem like it, when you're trying to catch up from the slide before and get ready to present the slide after, it really does have a little bit of a stress factor to it that these guys are going to be sweating even more than these house lights are making them. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready? All right. Our first expert going to be giving the first 6-minute lightning talk on a roller coaster ride of her life. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, they don't even know the order that they're going in, so they're sitting up here shaking. No, not shaking? Our first expert is Hannah Morgan. Give her a round of applause. Hannah.
Yay! Woohoo! Okay.
Are you ready? I'm going to hit the button and it's going to go.
All right, I'm ready. Who's ready out there? You guys ready? All right, I'm ready.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
So my name is Hannah Morgan, and I am a career Sherpa. What I do is help people understand how to look for work better. And I know that seems like a long way from now, but it's going to be here before you know it. So what I want to talk to you about is building an online presence. And you know what that is? That's managing what you're putting out there online. So when we get started and we think about this, there's a story of a guy by the name of Pete Kistler. And Pete Kistler found that he shared the name with another Pete Kistler. This other Pete Kistler happened to be a drug dealer. So when employers were Googling Pete after he graduated from college, what they were finding was the wrong Pete Kistler. But that's not the only dumb mistake people have made. Cisco Fatty put out in a very public forum via Twitter that she had to make a choice between a big fat paycheck and going to a job she hated. Cisco rescinded the offer. So we have to realize that what we're putting out there in a public forum is very public. Photos are also very public. And so when we think about things that we're tagged in on Facebook or photos we put out there, every single one of those photos creates an image of what you are and who you are. So we want to be sort of mindful of that. Here's a little quiz for you, getting into the spirit of school. 86%, is that a good grade? Students who change majors, employers searching for candidates online, or all of the above? The answer is C. 86% of employers are searching candidates online to see what they can find. So my goal today is to help you understand that you are in control of what your digital footprint looks like. You have a great opportunity to make that footprint come across the way you want to be perceived. So your homework tonight, oh, you didn't know you had homework? Your homework tonight is to go home and Google yourself and find out what comes up on page 1. Because today it becomes very important to control what's being put out there about you. And your goal is to get that ranking on page 1 for the right information, the good information about each and every one of you. And you may think there's not a lot out there, but there already is information out there. www.yourname.com. How many of you own it? It's a great investment. You will always own your digital terrain. It's yours. Nobody can take that away from you. And so when you think about the greatest security for your online identity, having that www is a great way. Having social profiles, and specifically a Google profile, is another great way for you to have the right digital dirt. You control that, you own that. And so think about the potential for other social media platforms you may not be using yet, but may want to use. Start claiming them today. The other thing that I want you all to think seriously about and start considering today is building a presence on LinkedIn, the professional networking site. More and more employers are going there to find their next hire, and it's a great opportunity for you to build a portfolio and have discussions with people who are in your profession as you move forward during your career. The messaging that you're putting out there could either be vanilla, or it could be a banana split with whipped cream and a cherry on top. I think you want to be known as distinctly and uniquely you. So start thinking about what that message will be and how you want to be perceived. There are great opportunities today to create infographics that not only show and tell what you're good at doing. So think about some of the tools that are out there that can show your experience and your background and your education and the projects that you've been working on. There are also what we call splash pages that allow you at a glimpse, show where you are online, the different presences, the different tools that you're using. It's, again, another way for you to build that digital dirt, the right digital dirt, to help you in the long run. Now, there's also the opportunity to share and curate information that you're collecting. You're going to be specializing in different things, and you're going to come across interesting articles across the internet. And you're going to want to be known for somebody who can and does speak intelligently on these topics. Consider creating your own virtual newspaper and spreading the word about what you know. Get people to follow you. Your goal, ultimately, the silver bullet and the blue ribbon, is to get first page rankings. You want your content and the right content about you to be on page 1 of Google search. So that's your challenge. But I get to pass along some other advice to you, and that has to do with fixing what might be broken. There are 2 tools available right now, and I'm sure more will be invented as we move forward. Visibility is one of them, but brand yourself is the other. Remember Pete Kistler? Pete Kistler founded Brand Yourself as a tool to help people monitor and control their online presence, because he realized firsthand what a terrible thing that was to have to manage. Your parents didn't give you this advice, but I'm going to give you this advice. Go get work experience today. Don't wait until your junior, senior year. Get it now. I don't care if it's a co-op, an internship, off-campus experience. Employers want students with work experience. The second thing your parents didn't tell you or may not have told you is to get involved in campus, because it gives you an opportunity to develop communication skills, leadership skills, and develop a work ethic all of itself. So please get yourselves involved in campus activities. The other thing that you can do is to start connecting with those people that you meet via LinkedIn now. Don't wait, again, until your senior year, junior year to start building these relationships and connecting with them on LinkedIn. So you have the opportunity to continue to work with them even after you're done with school. You'll need those relationships. Right now, only 86% of employers are looking for you online. I can pretty much guarantee you this: 4 years, the world will be very different. When you graduate, I'm pretty sure that almost 100% of employers will be looking to see what they can find out about you online. You have the opportunity now, because you've been forewarned, to make those changes and to start building the right content online. So I want to wish you well in the next 4 years. This is a great opportunity. RIT is a great school. And you have the opportunity to build this reputation online that will carry forward for you and help you secure your next great job after school. Thank you so much.
Wow, not bad for 6 minutes, right? Very cool and collected. I think that was pretty good. What do you guys think? Yeah? It's like drinking from a fire hose, isn't it? There's just a ton of information, but we didn't want to waste your time, and I will not waste yours any further. So, our next expert, are you guys ready? Everyone's like, no. Are you guys ready? Good. Our next expert is Don Soufleris. Woo!
This is like a game show. I'm ready.
A game show?
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
We're ready.
Go.
All right, just very quickly, how many people have downloaded music, movies, or anything since you've been here at RIT? I see some, you're not all telling the truth. I see some hands. Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about copyright and file sharing. It's very important that you know some things while you're at RIT because RIT is a hotbed for the recording industry and other folks who are looking for illegal copyright. File sharing is a type of violation which is about text, photo, graphics, you name it. If it's copyrighted, you need to make sure that you have rights to that copyright. If you are interested, there is a student guide over in the library that you can get out to read and look at. The Recording Industry of America has really targeted colleges across the country, including RIT. We are in a top 10 group, some for academics, but this top 10 says we have some of the worst illegal file sharing that goes on a campus. I know. Here's the tough part, though. The tough part is many students here have had to go home because they cannot afford to pay the recording industry what they're sued for. Some of our students get early settlement letters saying they can settle out of court with the recording industry. It's about $3,000. Okay? When they'll say do that because the cost of hiring an attorney to help you with this costs more than the settlement amount. But they are looking at you, they're looking at what you do as a student at RIT because we are a hotbed. It's no joke. One of the things that we have seen is that we've had in the last year 1,150 notices saying that our students have copyright infringement. 34 of our students got those settlement letters and had to pay $3,000. 15 subpoenas where we had to give information over. We won't give a name unless we're subpoenaed, okay? We get 50 to 75 notices a week. It's about 500% up from a few years ago. That's huge. We don't give your information to them unless they subpoena us, and if they do, we, by law, have to turn over your name and address. Okay? The first time we get a notice about you, we'll get your IP address, we're going to contact you, and we're going to hold your ability to use the network, and we're going to make you look over the policy and sign it. You know what? 15 minutes, not so bad. You can't do work during those 15 minutes. But what happens is if you get a second notice or a third notice, it gets worse. A second notice, we're going to turn you off, and you can't use any of our network for an hour. You're going to have to reread the policy, but come to a class. You'll have to go to a class to learn all about how not to do this. What really gets serious is if you get a third notice. And if you get a third notice, what happens is you have to go to student conduct. And the folks in student conduct are going to tell you that you may not be able to stay here as a student if you continue to do copyright infringement. So we're talking that gives you a disciplinary record at RIT, and that's not something that you're going to want to have. So we want to help you avoid getting any of these notices. I want to talk about Thomas. Thomas was accused of sharing 1,700 songs. Recording industry looked to get $222,000 from him. Went to trial, it went up to $1.9 million for songs. U.S. Justice Department said, that's not excessive, Thomas, you need to pay it. He appealed, it went down to $54,000. Now the recording industry is appealing that. But this is a student who now has to pay $54,000 currently for all the songs that he downloaded. I don't think that's what you want to do. So what we want to make sure is if you get a copyright enforcement letter, they're going to ask you to settle. Or you can send it to an attorney, and that attorney is going to cost money. And it's going to tell you very clearly, this is what you did. Just by getting that doesn't mean you can go and erase it because they've already taken a snapshot. They already know. And you have to think, what are you going to do first? Explain to your father that you owe $54,000 or $3,000? Or you're going to have to tell your parents, oh, it was all about the pornography DVD I illegally downloaded. That would not be a good conversation with your parents. I know I wouldn't be too happy. So you can't distribute copyright material either. So if you get songs off of iTunes or somewhere else and make yourself a DVD, you're good. You make one for somebody else, that's not something that the recording industry or the Motion Picture Association wants you to do, okay? Now, if you've written, we have some musicians out here, people who play guitar. If you would like to copyright your own music, you can do that, give your own music away. But if you're using somebody else's music, it's for your own personal use, and you can't give it to anybody else. So we want to make sure you are being legal in what you look at and what you listen to, okay? And so we're telling you right now, if you've come with illegal music and you're on our RIT system, you've come with movies and you're on our network, get rid of it. We don't want it here because we don't want you to end up like Thomas. Because Thomas could no longer go to school because of the money that he currently owes to the recording industry. And here's what we'd like you to do. iTunes, Google Player, Amazon, lots of places that you can download music and movies, and it's all good. There is academic software that you can even get free academic support tools that you don't have to pay for. Check with the bookstore, check with your department. If you get one of those letters or contact from us, don't delete the files. They have taken a picture of it, and honestly, it's not going to help you. Think about legal advice, and student government has a lawyer you can actually go talk to. But criminal charges may happen. And we have students and students at other schools, just like this poor soul, who ended up in jail because they couldn't pay the settlement fees or they couldn't pay the money that the courts told them for the legal file sharing. Don't let this be you. Be smart. Buy your music, buy your movies, keep it to yourself, and stay ethical. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Very informative. Are you guys ready for our next lightning talk? Yeah. You only got 3 more to go. This isn't so bad. I know you guys have been talked to death all week, so we're going to get you guys to dinner right after Nick Francesco goes.
Here we go.
You ready, Nick?
I was born ready.
That's pretty good.
Give the word. Here we go. All right, I want to talk about avoiding identity theft online. My name is Nick Francesco, as far as you know. I've been asked to talk about how my slides are different from everybody else's slides. I'm a rebel. I also didn't really read the requirements, so I only have half as many slides as everybody else. But they appear to be going fast anyway. So why do you care? You're the prime audience for identity theft. You have brand new credit cards. You have brand new credit ratings, and you're not paying attention. How many of you have actually looked at your credit card statements? Yeah, half of you are lying. But you're the people that they want to steal from because you don't pay attention, and you have massive amounts of credit because you're new. Nobody's going to tell you no. You don't have bad credit. So you're the person we really want to steal from. So who's vulnerable? Well, you're vulnerable. Look, there's a statistic. 1 out of every 3 people at RIT will have their identity stolen before they leave this place. So look to your left, look to your right. If it isn't them, it's you. Yeah, that's not a joke. How do they get your identity? Mostly they ask for it. A lot of it, you know, it's not theft online anymore. Now they're calling you up and asking you for your information. Hi, I'm from Student Services, and I need your username and password. Oh, okay, yep, here it is. Be very careful who you give your information to. Most of the time, they are not legitimate. So pay attention to the information you're giving to people, and in fact, mostly don't give it to them. That's pretty simple. If they want your information, that's it. So how do you stop them? Well, mostly you stop them by not being dumb. Everybody has password hints. Most people pick something that's important to them, and then they talk about that thing on Facebook. So if you have a question that is, what's your favorite movie? The answer should be Chevrolet. What was the name of my first dog? Purple. Don't put personal information on the internet. Put something that's simply not true out there for those special passwords. And in terms of passwords, use different passwords for different sites. Oh, I know what you're all going to say, but I'm too stupid to remember different passwords. I have to use the same password for everything. No, you don't. You're smart enough to get into RIT. You're smart enough to use different passwords. Use them. The more different passwords you use, the safer you are. That way, if they crack your Facebook password, they don't get your Google Plus password or your Twitter password or your password to this network. In addition, long passwords. Long passwords are more important than complex passwords. So if your password is J437 left elbow dot, that's not a good password. This is a really long password period is a great password. Oh, but I'm too stupid to remember long passwords. No, you're not. Remember this, if you have a favorite song, if you have a favorite movie with quotes in it, use those as your password, not the one you use on your Facebook page, but something else. And those are the long passwords you should use. Two-factor authentication is becoming much more popular nowadays. Google does this a lot, something you know and something you have. So you log on to Google and it sends a code to your phone, which you then also have to type in to get in. That means nobody's going to be able to steal your password because they don't have both the password you type in and your phone to get the unique code to it. So whenever you can, use two-factor authentication and you will be that much safer. People won't be able to steal your identity, which is the point here. Is there an easier way? No. If there were, this would have been a 6-second talk. The reality is you have to be careful every time. Your identity is the only one you're ever going to have. Keeping it safe is good for you. So pay attention. You're adults now. Do the right thing. Be an adult. Thanks.
What? You forgot your conclusion, your Nikola Tesla slide.
Oh, I forgot it. Oh, well. Yeah, I'll get over it.
It's a little nerve-wracking up here, guys. You completely skipped an entire slide. It's okay.
It's not an important slide.
We'll give him a free pass. But thank you, Nick. I feel like I was kicked in the face.
Good.
I don't know how good that is, but at least my identity will be safer. Do you think yours will be as well?
Sure.
Electrifying. All right. Our next and second to last expert is, well, there's only two left, so my two bosses. You see how I did that? I made them go last, so that way they'd be sitting up there shaking the whole time. This is payback for a whole summer, guys.
You don't have your last check yet.
Oh, that's true. I don't have my last check yet. I'm a little worried now. Well, up next, our expert is John Maurer. Give him a round of applause.
Now, I'm going to convey to you in about 6 minutes what takes typically an hour to convey to faculty staff. So the question is, are you ready for this? All right.
I think he's asking if you're smarter than the faculty and staff.
Because we're going to move really fast, so stay tuned. Fasten your seatbelts.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
So I'm going to talk to you today about risk. And risk is defined as a chosen action which can lead to an undesirable outcome or loss. And this definition implies that there's a choice or a decision which can be made which is going to somehow influence the outcome. Now, by show of hands, how many of you believe your information is at risk? For those of you that have raised your hands, I agree with you. And the decisions and choices that you will make over your time here at RIT will influence the outcomes of whether your information is stolen. Now, risk is based on 4 factors. First, you have to have an asset or something of value. Second, you need a vulnerability. That asset needs to have something that can be exploited. Third, there needs to be a threat or an agent which wants to exploit and steal or destroy that asset. And the fourth, is that needs to be a countermeasure. Something or a decision or choice which you make to try to reduce the risk by either reducing the vulnerability or thwarting the threat. And so now we're going to explore each one of these in greater detail. So let's start off with assets. What are your assets? Well, first, they're your key identifiers, or your social security number, your driver's license number, your university ID. It's your financial account information, like your credit cards, your bank account number. It's your work effort, your homework, your research, and most importantly of all, it may be your reputation. Where are these assets? Well, they're everywhere you put them, or where they've been put. So it could be personal devices like phones, tablets, laptops, RIT systems like the network, servers, apps, and labs, and potentially third-party outside sources like Gmail or Google Apps, which RIT leverages, somewhere out in the cloud. And are you vulnerable? Absolutely you are, because infrastructure can be sniffed, logical computers can be hacked, physical assets can be stolen, and if they can't get around any of those three, they will simply ask you for it through some form of social engineering and steal it from you. So, what are these threats? Well, it could be one of your classmates. It could be some script kiddie hacker. It could be organized crime trying to steal your financial information for some form of fraud. Or it could be some sort of state-sponsored organization that's trying to steal RIT research or intellectual property. All of these need to be taken into account. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do to minimize your risk? Are you going to try to hide behind Richie in the hopes that he's going to protect you? No, you have to make intelligent choices and decisions about how you are going to protect your information. And so we're going to explore each of these in greater detail. And they're actually captured in and articulated in RIT's policies, standards, and recommendations. And so if you're up late one night, go to wsecurity.rit.edu, and you can read through all the policies and procedures, and it will give you a good night's sleep, but I'm going to cover them for you right now. To protect against sniffing, encrypt your communication. Use RIT WPA2. Use encrypted email IM and secure file transfer protocol. And always use SSL or HTTPS when connecting to websites. To protect against hacking, use passwords intelligently. In this picture, there are 4 things wrong. This person has a very simple password. They've communicated or shared it with someone else. They're using it with their other accounts, and they've written it down. Don't do these things. If you do, you're going to get hacked. Someone is going to steal your password. To protect against hacking on your mobile devices, recognize that mobile devices are intrinsically insecure. Keep private information off your mobile devices. Download only trustworthy and necessary apps. Update your patches on your mobile devices and password protect them so that if they do get stolen, someone can't break in. To protect against hacking on your desktop and laptops, use some form of antivirus. RIT provides McAfee antivirus to you for free. In addition, make sure that your patches are updated, because oftentimes patches are remediating some form of vulnerability. Now, during your course here at RIT, you may develop a website or host a server application or database. Read the web standard or the server standard. There are an immense amount of details in those to protect your websites and your servers from hacking. And then finally, to protect against physical theft, lock your room and car. Don't leave devices in plain sight. Never leave unlocked devices unattended. And encrypt your storage. That way, if it does get stolen, at least they can't get the information on the particular device. And then keep in mind that when you dispose of something, that may be when someone is trying to steal it from you. So crisscross shred your paper. For CDs and diskettes, use some form of a media shredder. And for tapes and hard drives, degauss them. The ITS Help Desk has media shredders and degaussers, which are free for you to use. Now, to protect against human weakness, never share your password, don't provide information to strangers, and confirm their identity or contact a confirmed person or number online after the fact. Now, for all of these, the question is, who's protecting your security? And the answer is, it's everyone. It's RIT, it's the faculty and staff, it's the Information Security Office, the IT departments, but most importantly, it's you. And the choices and decisions that you make will influence whether your information is potentially stolen and help reduce the risk. So keep in mind that these risks are constantly changing. And so during your time here at RIT, you will receive regular, and I mean regular, communications from the Information Security Office. Please read them. And if you ever have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to us in the Information Security Office. Thank you very much.
Oh, I don't know who's next. All right, our last speaker for the evening, before we take questions from you guys, we have 2 mics back there. We'll explain that in a second. Our last speaker for the evening is my immediate supervisor for this entire summer while I was on co-op, Mr. Ben Woelk. I took the interpretive dance slide and put it in your presentation, by the way.
Okay, I have nothing to say about that.
Ready?
Yeah, whenever we're ready.
Go.
Hi, I'm Ben Woelk. I'm the Policy and Awareness Analyst in the Information Security Office, which basically means I come up with a lot of things that you all have to do. But this presentation is 10 tips to shock-proof your use of social media, and it will go pretty quickly. Though I'm used to doing 15-second slides, and the 18 really is dragging out. So. Okay, what's wrong with this picture? Okay. Pretty obvious. I mean, if you want to find out whether your credit card's been stolen, you don't want to put that information online. The problem is that we're all targeted, every one of us. You know, you're targeted, I'm targeted, and the real key is that awareness is the most important thing here. It's also we're not attacked by hackers in their basement. Some of you may remember that movie from the dawn of time called War Games with the hacker in the basement. But the key thing now is that organized crime funds the attacks. It may be a hacker in the basement, but he's getting well paid to attack you. So the first tip I've got for you is to use something called a passphrase. Don't use a password, use a passphrase. Nick mentioned it. Length is more important than complexity. So you can take a phrase like it was a dark and stormy night, put a number, cram it together, and you've got something you can't pronounce, but you've also got something that's pretty much uncrackable. Now, we also talked about using multiple passwords. There are a couple of tricks to this. You want to use something called a password safe. Password Gorilla is one. Another one is LastPass, which is a browser plugin. Basically, what will happen is those vaults will generate a complex password for you and remember it and give it to you when you need it. Second tip is to keep up to date. You know you need to keep your operating system up to date. It's really important to keep your applications up to date, and honestly, even your hardware. So make sure that you're keeping up to date with patches when they come out. And if possible, set it so it's an automatic update. Tip number 3 is to use protection. Now, there is no such thing as an eye condom, at least not yet. But the idea is that you use layers of security. You want to make sure you use an antivirus, you have a firewall, you use anti-spyware. And these mobile devices are a really big deal because they are getting targeted more and more, research and development against them. Tip number 4, recognize phishing and scams. Don't get hooked. You've seen Fishy wandering around in the room. It looks like Fishy's kind of taking some time off right now. But don't respond to email requests for your password. For that matter, don't respond to phone calls asking for your password or anything else. People don't need them. Keep your private things private. Now, this poster was actually developed by a student here. Nice Victoria's Secret colors. But the key thing here to remember, if you want something private, don't put it online. You pretty much have to assume that it will be compromised at some point. Tip number 5, use your social networks safely. I expect you're going to use them. Everybody's using them now. And this kind of thing is really not the norm. But there's things about, don't put on your Facebook status, hey, I'm going to go out of town, especially say, oh, my room's unlocked, you know, or something like that. But don't give up your whereabouts. And the other key thing that's happening now is we're seeing a lot of phishing on social network sites. It's not just the poorly crafted emails that you used to get. You may get communications from somebody that looks like somebody on Facebook or Twitter over the last couple of days. And it'll be, oh, what are you doing in this vid here? And it's a phishing attempt. You've given up a password. Tip number 6, remember who else is there. Now, Hannah referred to this. Employers, potential employers, are looking for you online all of the time. You also have to watch out for identity thieves, and there are online predators, so that's really kind of overplayed considering how much of it's really going on. Key thing is also don't post inappropriate photos and don't let your friends post inappropriate photos. Check in the morning, see what you've been tagged in. Maybe you guys would hire this guy. I wouldn't hire this guy, though we did hire somebody like that just recently. But pay attention to what you post online. Sorry, it wasn't in the script. Tip number 7, be wary of others. Is this really your friend who's talking to you? Is it a 40-something or 60-something who's out there masquerading as an attractive 20-something? You don't know who that really is behind that profile on Facebook or any other social media. So tip number 8, search for your name. You've got access to something called Google Dashboard. Now, I use it to search and see how my name is used online, and I actually kind of stalk to see how my family's names are used online. But it's a great way to monitor how you appear online and when you appear. You can set it up to give you alerts daily. Now, tip number 9, guard your personal information. Maybe you'd like to have a guard dog like this, maybe not. But the key thing is guard your personal information. Really watch out for those Facebook applications that ask 20 or 30 questions about you. You know, things like, what's your mother's maiden name, where were you born, all of that kind of stuff. Tip number 10, never assume privacy. Facebook tracks everything you do. Pretty much everybody is tracking all of our online activities, and you have to assume that if you put it out there, that's going to be revealed at some point. So make sure you think about what you post. Don't roll the dice with online privacy. Use the privacy settings. Now, the problem is privacy settings, Facebook, everywhere else, they keep changing them. Half the time when they change them, those privacy settings become unstuck. So everything you thought was private is all of a sudden revealed. So you want to pay attention to that. Key thing is you all are the first line of defense. RIT kind of protects you, but we really work here as your internet service provider. You're not behind a firewall when you're on your computers. So stay alert. You're going to be the first one to notice if something's wrong. Maybe your computer's running slowly. Maybe you're getting weird communications. And finally, you'll hear this over and over here, practice digital self-defense. It's up to you to protect yourself and everyone else. You can follow me. You can follow RIT InfoSec. And again, I thank you for this presentation time, and stay safe. And we're done, except for questions.
Good job. Nice. So how about one more round of applause for our presenters? They're done. You guys should give yourselves a round of applause as well. You survived. That's a pretty big deal. All right, so how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great. All right, so we have about 10 minutes or so for questions. This is your chance to really pick these guys' brains. They know a lot about the policies and standards that we know that you will all read tonight, right? Yeah, we got one enthusiastic guy. But this is your chance to go ahead and ask questions. There are mics in these 2 aisles here, so feel free to come up. The OAs will direct you, and we'll take a question from each side. To get us going, I have written down a couple questions. So first question for our panel, feel free to, guys, just field any questions and build off of each other if you'd like. Why would someone, oh, this is my question actually, mostly for Nick. Why would someone want to steal my identity? I know I have no money whatsoever to speak of.
Well, I know that you are an individual and precious snowflake in your own right. But the reality is, as I said earlier, you have new credit, and you're an unknown in the world. So if I can steal your identity, I can build up anything I want, the credit I want, the persona that I want, and it doesn't matter who you are, because you're essentially a tabula rasa, a blank slate on the internet, so I can be whoever I want to be with your name.
All right. Anybody else want to add something? No, that's good. All right. Oh, you got a question over here? Go for it.
Yeah, I do have a question. So I've taken a few classes here in my years of being at RIT, and for a few of my classes, we've had to do things where our names are attached to work we've done. And I even had a web design class where we all had pictures of ourselves for our website, and we were told that it would only be viewable for RIT students. Now, that was incorrect, as I later found out. Oops. And now, if you Google any of our names, our information, our work, and our pictures come up on Google for anyone to see. So I've tried contacting the webmaster for that site, and that email address comes back as not existing. So I was wondering why certain things like that are allowed here at RIT, and what can be done to change those things.
So what I would, it's an excellent question. So welcome to RIT, where we have one of the largest web presences of any university. There are over 300,000 web pages on the RIT website. And because it's highly distributed, there are a lot of people that have access to that and that are involved in the use of that. My recommendation would be to, certainly if someone had made a commitment like that to you, that it would not be shared and it is being shared, that's problematic. And I would go back to that faculty member, and or if you're not getting a response from them, go back to the dean of the college and specifically address that with them, because those types of commitments should be honored.
Okay, also, what is the ITS webmaster email address?
Well, the answer to that is, as I mentioned, there are over 300,000 web pages, and there is not a single RIT webmaster. There are a number of different webmasters depending on the actual portions of the website that are being administered.
Yeah. What I would do is send an email to abuse@rit.edu, and that will elevate it automatically into the tracking system. So I think you'll probably stand a better chance of getting a response there.
Thanks.
Things get screwed up.
Thank you. All right, we got a question over here on this side.
Yes. Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to blast your ears out. My question is, what do we think about these plugins that actually do these random passwords and stuff? Because you say that the plugin remembers the password. Well, okay, but how does it remember it? Does it remember it in an encrypted cache or in some other capacity? Because just because you may have a lot of randomly generated passwords, they are stored in a hash that obviously must remember what site they go with.
Okay. It depends, which is probably going to be the answer to pretty much everything. Password Gorilla is the desktop application that saves it in an encrypted vault on your desktop. LastPass is a browser plugin. There was a hack a couple of years ago. There were some passwords that were compromised. I think everything gets hacked at some point, whether it's a security application or something else. It really stores those things online. You use a complex password or a long password to log into it to enable, to enable its use. But can they guarantee whether it's going to be completely protected? No. But one thing, it's certainly going to be in the news if they are hacked. And the other thing is you're still better off using a service like that than trying to reuse the same password for 15 or 16 or 20 different sites. And Nick, if you can add anything to that.
Well, I use one called KeyPass, which works on Linux, which is the operating system I mostly use, Windows, the Mac, and on my phone, so that I can keep the same password set everywhere. It's a 2048-bit encryption, which you're not going to break terribly easily. So that's how I keep mine safe. I use a very long password, a tediously long password when I'm putting it into my phone. But that way I know that it's doubly safe. One, it's a very high encryption rate for the file, and secondly, it's a very long password that I don't use anywhere else.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, and what about like the password manager that is built into Mozilla Firefox? If you use that with a master password?
I wouldn't recommend that at all. Pretty much anything, even if you go back to the old Office products where they used to offer to remember your password and put it in automatically, I would not trust the encryption on those. I would go with a third-party password safe, KeyPass, Password Gorilla, LastPass, something like that. I would not trust the regular Mozilla at all. I think the intent for that is convenience. It's not really security.
Yeah, when you're talking about security, easy should be suspect.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll contact you if I want to have a recommendation for a good program for that.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you. All right, over this guy, the red shirt.
Hi there.
Hello.
I just have a, I'm sorry.
I said hello. It's fine. Keep going.
I just had a question on the answer to the first question that I believe Nick answered. Why would a identity thief go through the trouble of stealing someone's identity when they could just create a whole new identity. I mean, I don't know if that's possible, but would they be able to do something like that?
Sure, you can create a new identity, but creating a new identity outside of TV shows is hard because you have an entire history. If I steal your identity, I've got a birth certificate, I've got a social security number, I've got a high school transcript, and all of that is real. Whereas if I have to create an identity, I don't have any of that stuff. So I've got to go back and create all of that. Well, that's real easy for the CIA or NCIS or one of those. But in the real world, it's actually hard. So if I can steal your identity, 90% of the work has been done for me. And if you don't protect your identity, I win. That's the reason, because you're a real human, and stealing the identity of a real human is better than building one.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're getting some pretty long lines here. I think, depending on how long the questions are, we'll only be able to take 3 or 4 more questions, but we'll take yours first, sir.
Okay, all right. So this one is directed primarily to the person who was talking about the, controlling what you put online, that lady. Do you think, in terms of ethics, there's some possibility that companies and employers constantly checking, not constantly checking, what I mean is checking what you've done online and possibly not giving you a job or firing you or something along those lines for one thing you've said online? Do you think that could, like, create an environment of de facto censorship where nobody's saying you can't say something necessarily, but you end up being stifled because you want to eat, sleep, pay rent, that kind of stuff?
It's a really good question. And I think because the use of developing content online is so widespread, that the majority rules over the 1 or 2 people who might miss out on a job because of an employer finding something. And quite honestly, most employers are not required to tell people why they were not hired. So you will never know that it was because of one random tweet that you sent 2 years ago that shows up on the internet. So there are lots of factors to consider, but I don't think that we'll see. I mean, it does raise a lot of issues about your privacy versus what the employer can see. But right now, when everything is so public, I think we just have to default to what the dangers are.
Let me add to that really quickly. There was a court ruling within the last 2 weeks where Facebook and other social media postings are not protected information at all. So you have no expectation of privacy if anything you post into social media.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, headed over to this side.
All right, I figure this one's going to be pretty quick. In terms of physical protection of your identity, like keeping a laptop safe and the passwords inside there, how secure would you say, like, biometric finger scan, face recognition, those services?
I'll start, you can pick up.
Yeah.
Face recognition, all they need is a photo of you to hold up in front of the computer, so it's kind of limited in its effectiveness. Obviously, it's not the gory, they have my finger for the fingerprint. But even so, that's still a hashed password in a sense. It's just a different kind of interface. The real key, and one of the things we talk about with security, is you're really kind of trying to build your fence a little bit higher than your neighbors because you want them to rob your neighbor's house, not your house. So anything that you can, not really, but anything that you can do that makes your stuff a little bit harder to obtain, unless you're specifically targeted, they're going to move on to the next victim. So use anything. Anything is more than your friend is probably using.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got time for 2 more questions. So over to this side.
Okay. What is your opinion on certain online anonymizers like Tor or PeerBlock or something like that to try and limit the amount of information that can be intercepted?
In general, they're crap. The reality is that at some point, for you to get a piece of information from another server, your address must be available. And even if it's put into Tor or somewhere else, wow. You can be traced. There's no such thing as pure anonymity in the internet. They would love to sell you that idea, but it simply doesn't exist.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And last question right over here, gentleman in blue.
All right. I was wondering, like, is it much safer to use like a password vault that will allow you to copy and paste your password so that you don't have to type? And how do we protect ourselves against like sniffing or keyboard logging?
The password vaults that I'm familiar with, you're not copying pasting out of them, though they do get a little trickier on your phone because they don't necessarily work the same way. LastPass, for instance, you can set it up so it auto-fills, it auto-logs in, or you could have to go into the vault and have it put the password in manually. So you had different configuration options. One thing that we ran into a couple of years ago with one of these encryption packages, or it was a password vault that was encrypted, it had backups. The backups weren't encrypted, and somebody had actually backed it up onto their desktop, and it was a wide open file. So you've got to be very careful in terms of investigating, how these things work. Nick, I don't know, can you address the other part of that?
Yeah, the other part of that is if you copy something out of your vault and paste it into somewhere else, it's still in the clipboard. So if I come up to your machine, you've walked away, I open up Notepad, I do a paste, there's your password. So unless you remember to then copy something else to wipe it out, you're very vulnerable.
And with regard to keystroke loggers, that's a potential threat. The vulnerability is typically because your system is physically insecure, so someone has access to it, and/or you should also consider whether you want to separate the administrative rights. So if someone does deliver you malware with a keystroke logger in it, they can actually install it on your system.
Cool. Thank you.
Good.
For the less techie souls in the crowd, because a lot of this was definitely over my head, but I just want to do one quick little message for you. When you are thinking about the relationships that you're having on your floors with your friends, fraternity, sorority, club, organization, think about what you post about yourself and others. Think about the texts you send to fellow students, even faculty staff, the pictures you might take and send via text or put on Tumblr or put on Facebook, because we have so many students every year get themselves in a lot of trouble because of what they have put out in social media. Those kinds of things can be monitored by public safety and faculty staff, and when it comes to us, we have to act upon it. So before you take that picture of your friend who is drunk or high, or you're acting like a fool and your friends are going to put pictures of you up on Facebook, stop and pause, because we have a number of students that lose tons of opportunities here and jobs and study abroad and RA positions and OA positions and you name it, because they weren't thinking about how it was going to impact them socially. So if you walk away, there's been great technical information, but be thoughtful of what you put out there about you or your relationships or your friends, because it could come back to bite you.
Awesome. Can we just get another round of applause for our awesome panelists and speakers? All right, so before I let you go, I have two presents for you, okay? The first present is you get to go to dinner. Yeah, dinner. That's always good. I remember my freshman year, dinner was the best part of the day. No offense, OAs. I love you guys. The second present, which will be given to you all at the door, are these decks of cards. They will help you navigate your digital self-defense through the next year, and they have tips on every single card to keep you safe. So that way, you don't have to take Nick home with you. You don't have to steal Ben's identity. I mean, you could take Nick home with you if you'd like, but you get to take the information home, all right? So everyone, have a great night, and thank you very much. Oh, as well, keep us in mind, social media. We follow on Twitter and Facebook very closely. If you have questions, for those of you who couldn't ask, feel free to reach out to us there, and you may just win a Barnes & Noble gift card. Thanks a lot, guys.